Hello class, this is Demetrius Wilson with Human Resource Management. This is chapter 1. For every chapter you will have a lecture going through the PowerPoint just to walk you through it as well as give you a little insight in regards to the things that the author of the text is referring to. I always have some pretty good stories and some good reference points relative to each topic that I like to go through in the lecture. So hopefully it helps you in your quizzes or on your quizzes, on the tests, and in your profession as well. As you see right here, it's by Laura Diaz. I won't try to pronounce the middle part, but she's an author. You'll see that there'll be videos from her as well that are also embedded in the text. It's good to get her insight in regards to the topic. She wrote the textbook, great wealth and resource of knowledge. Lots of great things that I'll remind you in the introductory, or I have reminded you in the introductory video to make sure that you do when you read through the text and watch the video as well. So chapter 1, we always have to have a basis point, where we start, where we begin. And so we'll start with the role of human resources. And the role of human resources has definitely changed. Yeah, back in the day, it was basically someone who did the company's payroll and organized birthday parties, right? So it's obviously evolved into a lot of different things because the marketplace and the environment in which we work in has evolved a lot as well. So the need for that human resource person and things that they do has also evolved. So our learning objectives, always a good way to start things, is to say these are the things that we should learn, and then at the end of the lecture, at the end of the topic, you say, did I learn those things? Do I understand them? And you can always do a self-check there. So number 1 is define and explain the role of HRM. So HRM is human resource management in organizations, and discuss some of the major human resource management activities. So what is HRM, or what is human resource management? So it's funny because they say what is HRM and then the definition is down here, so in between it gives you a little, but I understand why they put capital first, because they're sort of setting it up to show you and make sure that you understand what they mean when they say human capital management. So capital is cash, valuables, or goods used to generate income. So if you work for a company, the company uses their cash, their valuables like their infrastructure, their company buildings, things like that, or goods, wood, products that they've created, and they use those to generate income through the sale of those or the sale of services. People is one of the most important is one of the most important capital, or one important pieces of capital in a business, right? So when you talk about human capital management, that person in HR is definitely in charge of, or one of the people that's responsible for managing this human capital. So what is human resource management, or HRM? The process of employing people, training them, compensating, developing policies relating to the people, and developing strategies to retain employees. So I want to slow down and I want to go through each one of those one by one, just to, if you're not exactly sure what they mean by that. So employing people. So you have to go through an employment process where you recruit people, you interview people, you select people, you onboard people, and then they're there for however long, right? So employing people, training people. A lot of times when people leave the company, the main thing that they say is the problem with any company that you work at. That a lot of times they bring up the training. Like, I didn't have any training. I kind of just got thrown in there, and I see that and hear that a lot. So it's good for HR to put together a good training program, or work with someone like a training liaison that will train and develop individuals within the company. Compensating, right? You have to pay these individuals, or at least you should. I'm definitely not working for free, and I don't think anybody else should either. So you have to go through the ins and outs of compensating individuals. Developing policies, right? You need to develop policies because there are all kind of different laws and things that you have to adhere to, and things have changed over the course of time as they should have changed, right? And so someone in HR has to change and evolve with those things, know and understand. And later on in the, throughout the course, we'll get into different things that have changed along the way. Like for instance, back in the 70s, you could ask a woman if she was planning on getting pregnant during an interview, which is like now you're like, whoa, that's crazy, that's absolutely absurd. But in the 70s, all the way up into the early 70s, you could actually ask that question. Um, and to develop the policies relating to people and strategies to retain employees. How do you retain employees, right? It's not about just that employee wanting a job. It's about the job wanting to keep and retain that employee. Do we pay them enough? Do we have enough perks? Do we have a cafeteria? I'm lucky enough the last two places that I've worked have both had cafeterias on location. Now, I don't eat at either one of the I never ate at either one of the cafeterias because it's just not in my diet, but I think that's a really good perk for people to have. So a lot of those perks and things that companies have and provide are reasons why people stay. One company I work for, they pay for all of the health insurance benefits. Now, health insurance benefits are expensive. And if a company's paying for that, you're going to think twice before you leave that company to go somewhere else. So the role of human resource management. In human resource management, we can focus on internal factors, right? So let's talk about what's internal, what's going on inside the company. Staffing, right? We already talked about staffing, getting the people together, who need to do what, right? A, B, and C employee are best at this, so that's where I'm going to allocate their resources towards. X, Y, Z employee are best at this, and I'm going to allocate their resources to something else. Development of workplace policies, right? We talked about that. Certain things that you should and shouldn't do, right? They send out a updated and changed dress code, right? There are a lot of things that that change, a lot of things in just in the environment that change. So for instance, like an e-cigarette, right? What is the company's policy on that? So I know exactly when e-cigs came out. I think blue may have been the first one, or at least that was the one that I saw, and my buddy got one. And my buddy, he sat in the back corner, and he would be in this cubicle, typing with his left hand and smoking the e-cig with his right hand, right? And so the manager comes back there. She's kind of mad and upset, and she's like, "What are you doing?" Right? And he was like, "It's no policy against me smoking the e-cig here at my desk." He said, "These are just vapors, not nicotine. I mean, it is nicotine. I'm sorry, but it's not any smoke, being expelled or anything like that." And so he kind of had her. I laugh and chuckle because I was standing right there. It's pretty funny, but now companies have started to implement policies that say, hey, no e-cigs at your desk either. And I know clubs. I think at least in LA County, they've done that to say, those are things that we're not going to allow here. Compensation and benefits administration. So now remember, see this word right here where it says administration, compensation and benefits administration, because you administer the compensation through payroll, their benefits through their health insurance. But remember that benefits is part of their compensation. What you have to understand, and there's a video that I have there that you're going to watch for the supplemental videos, that benefits is part of your compensation. Your 401k is part of your compensation. The company I work for, they were so kind to point out and show everybody what their true compensation was. They sent out this document to everybody and said, this is your salary, but this is also your 401k, your health insurance, all these other things that we do for you. So, you really do need to look at your true compensation. Retention. In my company, I work and work closely with retention, and in human resources, retention is a big thing. If you have people just coming in and coming out, then you're gonna have to figure out what's the problem. And if you got so many people coming in and coming out, it's probably a problem with the manager, something wrong with the infrastructure, something's going on that's driving these people away from the company. Laws affecting employment, things change. Insurance, things have changed, with the Affordable Care Act, right? So the human resource management person needs to stay abreast of everything that's going on. And worker protection, FMLA, things of that nature, things that protect the employee from being harmed by individuals in the company. I know a young lady, maybe not so young anymore, but she was at this company, was on maternity leave, and they tried to fire her while she was on maternity leave, which they obviously couldn't do. And she came back, threatened to sue them and everything. And long story short, like they say, yada yada yada. She's been there 20 years. So workers definitely need to be protected, need to know their rights, and need to have someone to be an advocate for them. So I'm going to go ahead and move this up and go ahead and increase this so you can see a little few things about the role of human resource management in different areas. So attitudes, we're going to talk about social. So attitudes or beliefs about what is acceptable or what is right. For example, the trend towards work-life balance, right? So work-life balance has become a really big thing with companies, right? You don't want somebody to just work, 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 busy bee, and then they just burn out, right? So they're only there a year, they're out of there. They say, oh, I worked too hard, I fizzed out, and that's it, right? You want a work-life balance where somebody's happy, they're still happy at home, and they're also happy, in the workplace and coming to contribute. And just things that are acceptable. Like for instance, I'll tell a funny story. There's a young lady that I work with, and someone came to my desk. They said, "Can you come to the kitchen for a minute?" I come to the kitchen, and a young lady has her foot in the sink. Now, obviously, there's no reason, everyone, to have your foot in the sink, especially at your workplace. There's no reason to have your foot in the sink at home either, right? But, if you do, that's you. But we're in the workplace, and she's in the kitchen. And I said, hey, what are you doing? Like, why is your foot in the sink? And she was like, oh, I'm scrubbing something off my heel. But she said, but it's okay. It's a plate under it. Now, obviously not acceptable. So I said, please remove your foot from the sink. That's something that you need to handle at home. But certain things are acceptable. Certain things are obviously not acceptable. So legal aspect. So how the legal aspects of the business affects human resource management, such as discrimination laws or requirements for healthcare, employment, employer-paid taxes, right? So is this company big enough to where they have to offer healthcare? Do they have to offer you benefits? And what's going on about discrimination? Can you come back and say, hey, I feel like I've been discriminated against because this individual doesn't like me. Now, maybe it's just not your ethnicity. Maybe the person just doesn't like you as an individual. And sometimes that's kind of hard to determine, right? Because you don't truly know unless you hook the person up to a lie detector test. Technological. So the technological environment impacts how people communicate, which affects human resource. So before I go further on that, so think about it. Years back, you didn't have instant message. Even further back, you didn't have email. Now you have all these things, and people have the tendency to, have a lot of personal conversations, especially on instant message. Like the company can't really see your instant messages. Yes, they obviously can. Due to technology, there are ways to track employee performance, compensation, and even hiring processes. So it's funny, and we'll get to talking about telecommuting and virtual employees, that some people don't realize that, companies have this software where if you're at home and you're just staring at the computer not doing anything, that they do the reverse thing on the computer and they can see what you're doing. They can see what keystrokes. They can see that you're not moving that mouse around. You're not doing anything. They're like, why are you just staring at the computer screen? So people are funny. You get in those situations, just do your job. If you're at home and you're telecommuting, do your job just as if you were doing your job at the office. And the economic environment affects all parts of the business and affects human resource management in terms of how many employees you might be needed, right? So you have to understand how many employees do we need. So companies go through these cyclical changes where they say, hey, you know what? We don't need that many people right now. We're going to let some people go. We're going to try and redefine what we're doing, use some technology to make some things more efficient, and we probably won't hire those people back. So people should know and understand how business kind of rolls and how it works. Now let's talk about the role of human resource management in regards to external factors. So you have globalization, how things are all like, you're in every market. If you're selling things on the internet, you're worldwide because somebody in China could just log on and say, bam, hey, I want to buy this from this guy, right? So globalization has changed the way that we do things and the way we do business. Offshoring. So just to set one thing straight, offshoring and outsourcing are two different things. Let me give you an example. So if I work in the city of Orange and I make snowboards and I say, you know what, the actual, body of the snowboard, not the design, just the body, that blank template, I'm gonna have my buddy from a different company in Santa Ana. I'm gonna have him produce those and then give them to me, and I'll finish the rest. Right? That is outsourcing. Doesn't matter that he's still in the same state or even the same city or same country. It doesn't matter. That's outsourcing. That I had someone outside of my company complete the process. Offshoring is having someone that's in another country complete a process, right? So whether it be, they process claims, whether it be they do, customer service, right? That will be offshoring. And so now, just so you guys know, and if you watch a lot of the news, you've heard this, that now they're doing a lot of inshoring where they're seeing that, we said, okay, we could go to China and we could go to India and we can get these services at such a low price, and our price was like right here. And now it's starting to where, they're saying, hey, well, they have to work with us because we've got such a lower price, and that's the norm now. But now their price point is moving up. So when it gets to level, then they're like, hey, we might as well bring that work in house and bring it back to America. I've seen, like, even in places in Kentucky, like they're going in, turning lights on at a old factory, cleaning it up, dusting it off, and going right back to work like they never left off and stopped doing business there. Healthcare costs. I don't know any year where healthcare costs has decreased. It continues to increase. So hopefully your cost of living adjustment or your COLA encompasses the fact that you have to pay more for healthcare. Employee expectations, right? So employees have expectations when they come into a company. They have different expectations after they've been there for 2 months. They have other expectations after they've been there for 5 years. Diversity. A lot of companies have a diversity council or diversity vice president that says, hey, our company's not diverse. We want to diversify, get different types of people in here, and those different type of people will help us reach different types of markets and help us understand everyone throughout the United States. Technology has obviously changed everything with computers. If my computer goes out, I can tell you there's absolutely nothing that I can do at the office outside have a meeting. I can clean my desk and then I could stare at my associates and stare at my cubicle. But I need the computer on to do work. And increase of social networking. So, for instance, if you think about it, if I'm an HR recruiter, let's say that's what the capacity I'm working in at the time. I need to find a accounting person. Maybe I'm just going to LinkedIn and seeing how many people I can find from there, interview those individuals, and I don't have to pay a fee out to Monster or Career Builder or anything like that, right? So you have to know the different aspects, different avenues of how social networking and technology has changed things. So a few more in external factors: changing demographics, right? More women going to work, different, more of different ethnic groups coming to work. Um, Highly educated workforce. I have an individual, a buddy of mine. I went to school with him. He was, what was he, either 2 or 3 years younger than me. But he's gone back and he's in school right now, in school full time, working on getting his MBA. So you're seeing a lot more people that get their undergraduate degree go out there and say, hey, maybe I don't like the landscape. I'm going to go back, get a graduate degree. Or even the other aspect, you guys are working individuals and you're going to get your degree and you expect for things to change. So when you guys get, or continue to be in the workforce and then you graduated, you have a more highly educated workforce. And then layoffs and downsizing, you have to know and understand that. Very sensitive matter. I've been laid off before. It happens, but you have to have a human resource person, as we'll talk about later, that has certain qualities and certain skills, such as people skills and how you talk to people, how you let them down in a very sensitive situation. So external factors like that could be downsizing and layoffs that are happening rampant throughout your area just because of the market and the economy, or it could just be that your company did not do as good as they thought they would do in some fiscal year, the last 2 fiscal years, so they need to make some changes. I'll let you guys go over that, over the census demographics and how they've changed. I'm sure you could probably look around and see how things have changed throughout the United States. So a couple more learning objectives we have here. And these two learning objectives are explain the professional and personal skills needed to be successful in human resource management, right? You do need certain amount of skills. Let it be known, you need to be able to talk to people. You can't be antisocial and be in human resources. Define human resource management and the certifications that can be achieved in this profession. Just has a little list. You'll see that list. You'll have access to this PowerPoint. Go out and do some research if you want to secure any of those certifications. Skills needed for human resource management: multitasking, to be able to do different things. You're working with one person on how much they're going to get paid. You're working with one manager on discipline and somebody who's going to get written up. You're working with another manager on expanding their department and recruiting and finding the right type of individuals. You need to be able to wear a lot of different hats. Ethics, right? You want to be a highly ethical individual because you're going to be governing and working with other people's ethics, so you need to have your ethics straight as well. Conflict management. They're going to have a lot of people that are going to have a lot of arguments and a lot of disagreements that you will need to get in and manage their conflicts. So in order to do so, you need to have these people skills, right? You need to be able to talk to A and B and show them that you're impartial, and you want to show them both how to look at something with a level head and help them to understand and know why what you're saying and what you're deciding on is the way that we should go. And to have people skills, you probably need to have good communication skills. You need to be able to communicate with people, and people have to know and understand that communication also involves listening. It's not just talking, it's listening as well. Understanding of specific job related skills. You need to know the skills that an individual will need in order to be successful in this job if you want to recruit, select, and hire for this position. And you need to have a strategic mindset, right? This is human resource management. This isn't just an HR associate throwing birthday parties and doing payroll. Skills needed for HR. So these are the certifications. So PHR is Professional in Human Resources. SPHR, Senior Professional in Human Resources. GPHR is Global Professional in Human Relations, right? You can look those up, see if you can find a reputable company, if that's what you're looking for. If you're in this class to find a start and a basis for human resource management and say that's going to be my thing, then you should definitely look into these different certifications. So examples of HR titles. So they say examples of titles, but these are really like all the different hats. Remember I said you need to wear a lot of hats? These are different hats that a HR person probably wears. Now every HR department is different. Some companies may have these all as different positions. Smaller companies, one individual is going to do all these things. So you're going to recruit people. You're going to be a compensation analyst. You're going to look, are you within the proper pay band? Do we need to make adjustments to this person's salary? Human resource assistant. Employee relations manager, right? You need to, relate between the manager and the employees. Benefits manager, you need to be able to tell everybody like, hey, these are your benefits. These are what's going up. This is what's going down. These are changes that are being made. Work-life coordinator, right? People are going to have problems and they're going to come to you, and you need to be sympathetic, be that shoulder to cry on, but then also be able to give that person good direction. And it may not be something that you can assist with. You may have to, refer them to the employee assistance program. Training and development manager, right? So you need to have somebody, and it could be yourself, that can train and develop individuals to be the ideal associate or ideal worker that you want them to be. Human resource manager, right? A lot of times you need to work in a management capacity. Might need to hire, might need to fire, might need to write people up, might need to just have a little pep talk with someone. And vice president of human resources. Hopefully we all wish that tomorrow we come into work and somebody says, hey, you're going to be the vice president. So one last learning objective is to identify and explain some of the challenges associated with human resource management. We've already touched on some of those, but there's so many challenges. As soon as you walk in the door, there are going to be challenges. Basically, the whole job is a challenge because you're working with people's pay, you're working with people's conflict. Those two things are like, very touchy and sensitive matters. So you have to know and understand that, it's not the easiest thing in the world, but you should also be handsomely rewarded. So here are today's human resource management challenges. Cost containment, right? Are the cost of the individuals that you have working for you going up? Are the costs that you have that are relative to retaining employees and the turnover that you have, are those getting out of control? And there's going to be a supplemental video on that. Technology, how to bring the technology in, then how to combat the technology that is kind of affecting your workers in a negative way by having them socializing too much, misusing the technology, abusing technology, things of that nature. The economy, you have to keep your eyes on and ears on the economy and understand what's going on in the marketplace. Changing diverse workforce, so you have to know and understand how to handle different people from different ethnicities, different cultures, different religions, and know that these things are changing, so it's more commonplace in our business environment, especially living here in California. And last but not least, ethics. You always have to have, good hearty handful of ethics if you're going to be in human resource, and the individual at the company will appreciate the fact that your ethics are in place. So 16 slides. Feel free to go back and review them. Feel free to go back and review this video. But that is chapter 1. This class will go very, very quick. We'll go very standard. Every week we'll go have a lecture on the chapter, and then we'll also have a quiz, and then have a few tests in between. So I look forward to a great, healthy, wonderful, and successful semester with you guys this fall.